Next up, speaking of not getting cute, we've got Tracy Cortez taking on Jasmine Jasudavicius. We've seen some horny police in the Twitter streets because of this fight. Tracy Cortez demonstrating the new fight kits. So we got an interesting fight here at women's flyweight, man. And I'm going to throw this one to you first. Why don't you kick this one off, my brother? What do you think about this matchup at 125 pounds?
Yeah, I just would wish I had seen a little bit more of Jasmine Jasudavicius on the bottom position, but I think Tracy Cortez is going to wind up putting her there. She gets takedowns in most of her fights, and just look at her control time. Getting almost 9 minutes of control time, 7 minutes of control times in her fights. That's a round and a half of a women's MMA fight. We're probably not going to get a finish, guys. I have to take Tracy Cortez here. I think she's going to be able to get Jasmine down to the mat. And you could say, oh, she did a good job of stuffing Miranda Maverick's takedowns. I think Miranda Maverick was going for inside trips, small little, whatevers. I don't think those were good takedown attempts. And even then, she was still able to get in on the hips of Jasmine Jasudavicius, just wasn't able to drive through. And it's because she was too square. No driving force. You want to pick and you want to drive into the person. You want to pick. This. Pick up their legs and drive into the person. If you're just running straight head on, it's almost like a football tackle. And Godinez kind of does the same thing. We'll talk about that later, but I just don't think her takedowns are efficient compared to a Cortez, who I think is good, has multiple types of takedowns. She could go for a body locks, outside trips, inside trips, and I think she has good top control as well. Good game planning, good coaching, good cardio, and I think she's the quicker striker. Jasmine's best win was Miranda Maverick, and we just seen it. So I think you're buying into the Jasudavicius stock when it's at its highest, coming off her biggest win. When she's 34 years old, how much improvements did she actually make from the previous fight to the next? Other than that, I mean, the Fernandez win I feel like was a gift because she has no takedown defense. The Kay Hansen one, out physicaled her there in a debut, which was
Cash the plus 200, baby.
well, the line, that's the last thing I'm going to say is the line's just, you keep getting these plus money tickets on Jasudavicius, and there's just only so long you outperform the market, whereas you've cashed every single bet on Cortez, but it's been as a favorite, and it's still been profitable. I just don't know how long you could keep up that dog roll and keep profiting and outbeating the market, and I think this could be the fight where the market finally catches up to Jasudavicius. Mexican heritage, I'll go with the Mexican.
I love where your head's at, brother. And truthfully, I think both of these women, very talented, but let's look at the numbers here. Jasudavicius 3-0 as an underdog in the UFC. Eventually that will meet some kind of regression, right? When you look at Cortez, 5-0 as a favorite, 66% ROI, really impressive stuff. Eventually that will reach a point of regression, you'd think, but I just feel like who's got the higher trajectory right now? It's probably a Tracy Cortez. The hesitation for me comes from the layoff. I listed the fact that everybody's talking about Alex Reyes, longest layoff on the card, deservedly so. But the second longest layoff on the card, anybody? Tracy Cortez, been out of the cage over a year. So I did want to see, exactly what she brings to the table for this fight. But I do think of this as a fight where she's one of the biggest stars on the card, period, point blank, in terms of the social media numbers, in terms of the traction that she's getting in that regard. Now, when you look at Jasudavicius, last time out, favorable setting in Canada. I believe Maverick was on a pretty quick turnaround as well from a previous fight. So you look at those kind of circumstances. Maverick's still young. She's putting it all together. That was like Maverick, at a point where she's probably not quite reached her peak. I feel like she'll peak at about 28, 29, 30. She's still getting her experience in the game. Whereas I feel like this is the best Jasudavicius we're ever going to see. But I feel like Tracy Cortez, she's had that seasoning. You look at the resume, it's very impressive. The Aaron Blanchfield win, whether it's a win or a very close split decision loss, however you decide that fight should have been scored, it's like she's competing tooth and nail with one of the best girls in the division, period. So that's a trajectory that I feel like, would we see that from Jasudavicius? When she fought in Natalia Silva, a girl that's probably not as proven, she was getting, kind of dog walked in that spot. She has previous losses as well outside the organization. She's been in some close split decision type fights. She doesn't always make it clear. She sometimes has close fights. Even the Palastri fight, which we retaped because Palastri was on Contender Series this week, I felt like Palastri was coming back on her in the third round there, kind of having her say. And that's Palastri, who, by the way, competed at atomweight at one point in her career. So now we're talking about a Tracy Cortez who's been physical, who's been competing in wrestling, again, in the United States for a long time. She's not a New Yorker, so I can't get that bullish on it, but them Americans can teach you how to wrestle once again. And I think Jasmine Jasudavicius, very good fighter, but I think you're right on the market points here where, yeah, man, I love the plus 200 against Kay Hansen. I'm foolish that I didn't take the plus 200 against Miranda Maverick. I remember coming on this show and saying, don't parlay Miranda Maverick this weekend, but I didn't take the plus money myself like a fool. But in this case, it's like now you're getting plus 100 to fade a girl that's been on a very good win streak. But the one point I'll give to Jasudavicius is just she's staying active, man. And like activity can pay dividends in the UFC. We see it frequently. These people that just stay in the cage, they can keep putting together these kind of performances because they don't get rusty. They don't let themselves get out of shape at all. And they can push that pace for a hard 15 minutes. But I feel like Cortez, to your point, the right people surrounding her, world champions, credible coaches, the right advisors. I feel like she's put in the right work. So, barring any hiccups at the weigh-ins, give me Tracy Cortez here. And I think there could be some value in the prop market. Not going to nerf myself out of that value, but just going to let this market metastasize a little bit. I just feel like a lot of narratives baked in the cake on this fight that I don't fully agree with, but I feel like Tracy Cortez is the side.
The thing I wanted to say was she came off a long layoff in her last fight as well, and she performed really good versus Gato. So,
oh, tell me about it, brother. That was another faceplant L for me. Not a knockout, but a faceplant over 15 minutes there, huh?
So I just don't know how much I want to rate the layoff. And Jasmine obviously is going to play submissions off her back, but is she as dangerous as Gato? And we're getting an even better line. So
yeah, I will say Zen Monkey has those Randy Couture vibes, late bloomer, Greco-Roman wrestler. Dude, I will even say like Jazz impressed me her last fight. Like I expected her to keep it close with Maverick, not to like whoop on her a little bit. But I just feel like she has a lot of physicality and she can impose that on a lot of opponents. But like when it comes to technique and wrestling, like sometimes that stuff just doesn't work. You just get sat to your butt. And then it's about trying to get your way back to your feet. And we have seen her get tired before. And that's normally when she's in the driver's seat. So I do feel like when you see her potentially not in the driver's seat, I'm like, ooh,
yeah, we saw it
that could
versus
get
Silva.
real dicey.
Look at the Silva fight, man. She looked lost in my humble opinion. Now, did she expect that from Silva? None of us did, but still.
Straight up. I just saw my brother Wiz said to send that link in the chat. So
Send it to him.
We're
I
gonna
have to
see if
get
we
my
can get
phone
a
charger,
special
bro.
guest on here. So make sure that you drop a like if you want to hear from our brother from another Wiz Bets. Wiz he does a lot of things these days, including media for these MMA events. So make sure you give some love to our guy Wiz. But with that being said, we can move along here to the